What if a place was designed not just to kill, but to erase? No records, no survivors, just stone silence and a staircase built to break the human soul. Buried deep in Austria, there was a camp where death wasn't an accident. It was architecture. A system so brutal, so methodically engineered, that it scared even the men who ran it. Most people have never heard of it, but once you do, you'll never forget it. They didn't just die there. They were forced to build their own prison, brick by brick, under orders, under silence, until the walls closed in around them. This is the story of Mauthausen, a camp so cruel it became one of the darkest places in modern history, perhaps even beyond what we can truly imagine. To understand how it began, we must go back to March 1938, the day Austria disappeared. No bombs fell, no resistance met the invaders, just marching boots, swastika flags, and a strange, choking silence. On March 12, 1938, German troops crossed into Austria in what Hitler called a reunion. But this wasn't unity, it was occupation. In less than 24 hours, Austria ceased to exist as a sovereign nation. Its border erased, its laws replaced, its people absorbed into the Third Reich. The world watched. No one stopped it. And in the hills of northern Austria, in a quiet town called Mauthausen, the Nazi regime saw more than just annexed land. It saw opportunity, a foundation for the empire of death. It was about to build. Mauthausen was small, unassuming, but it had something Hitler wanted more than loyalty granite. Towering above the town was the Wiener Graben quarry, a centuries-old source of gray stone. For most of Austrian history, it supplied roads and bridges. For Hitler, it would supply monuments to fascism, stadiums, government halls, eternal structures to glorify the Nazi regime. But granite doesn't move itself. The Reich needed labor. Lots of it, and they had no intention of paying for it. Instead, they would build their empire with human lives. August 1938. The men who built their own prison. On August 8, 1938, the first transport arrived. Prisoners transferred from Dachau Jews, Social Democrats, Jehovah's Witnesses, intellectuals, men arrested not for crimes, but for being in the way. Their orders were never spoken but brutally clear. You are not here to survive. You are here to serve, and then to disappear. These prisoners built the first watchtowers, the first fences, the first barracks. They drove the stakes that would hold their own deaths in place. They worked with bare hands and bleeding feet. They were not given tools. They were not given beds. They were not given names. They were building more than a prison. They were building a prototype for systematic extermination. Mauthausen, a camp designed to kill slowly. Unlike many concentration camps, Mauthausen was classified by the Nazis as Category Through, the highest and deadliest designation in the entire system. This was not a labor camp with the hope of survival. This was a place for incorrigibles people. The Reich wanted to vanish without a trace. Political enemies, subhumans, people who simply asked the wrong questions. The Nazis had a phrase for it. Rückkehr unerwünscht, return not desired. Mauthausen wasn't built to hold people. It was built to grind them into nothing, slowly, efficiently, and silently. Where stone became a weapon. At the heart of Mauthausen's killing machine was the Wiener Graben quarry and the now infamous Stairs of Death. 186 jagged stone steps carved up the side of the quarry. At the bottom, prisoners hacking granite slabs with primitive tools. At the top, the camp, their only way up, carry the stone. Each block weighing up to 110 pounds on their backs. Not once, not twice, all day, every day, men collapsed on the steps. The stone crushed their spines, shattered their legs. When one man fell, others behind him stumbled like dominoes of bone and blood, creating avalanches of dying bodies. The SS guards didn't just allow it. They turned it into sport. They placed bets on who would fall first. They whipped the slow. They laughed as men collapsed in agony. And if a prisoner dropped his stone, he was beaten or shot or thrown from the quarry's edge, a 150-foot cliff. The Nazis named the Parachutist Wall. This wasn't punishment, it was entertainment. Mauthausen was chosen because it could hide what it did. The location was perfect, tucked into the hills, far from cameras, far from journalists, far from the gaze of the world. It produced granite for the Reich and corpses for the soil. It ran like a factory. The dead were replaced. The stones kept moving. It was efficient, it was quiet, and it worked. No headlines, no outrage, just one train after another, one prisoner after another, one block of granite after another, until the man carrying it vanished. Mauthausen was proof you don't need fire to burn a soul. You just need a system that kills people by using them up, and the Reich had built it, the beginning of something far worse. By the end of 1939, Mauthausen wasn't just a camp. It was the center of a growing web of death. Dozens of subcamps sprang up across Austria and southern Germany, all modeled after this one, all built on the same idea, that you could profit from pain, that you could turn suffering into policy, that you could build an empire with stone and fill its foundations with silence. What came next would shock even the prisoners who had survived the quarry, because once the foundations and no one knew who to trust.